Hi, my name is Rachel Carter. I am 34 years old. This is my story. My husband looked at me and said, "You'll never afford a lawyer. Just sign the divorce papers." He was so sure I had no choice. He was wrong. Brian and I had been married for 15 years. We lived in Jacksonville, Florida, and together we raised 2 wonderful children. I worked part-time at a public library, but for many years I stayed home to care for our family while Brian built his career in sales. Because he earned more money, he slowly took control of everything. He paid the mortgage, he managed our bank accounts, he kept the passwords. Whenever I asked about our finances, he always said, "Don't worry, I'll handle it." I trusted him because he was my husband. Looking back, I realized trust should never mean giving up your right to know what belongs to you. One evening, Brian came home carrying a large envelope. Without any emotion, he placed it on the kitchen table. "I filed for divorce," he said. I felt like the room stopped moving. I opened the envelope and found pages of legal documents. At the end was a place for my signature. Brian leaned back in his chair. "If you sign now, this will be easy." I looked at him and quietly asked, "What if I want a lawyer?" He smiled. "Rachel, you can't afford one. I already talked to an attorney. You'll spend money you don't have and still lose. Just take what's being offered." His words filled me with fear. I only worked part-time. My savings were small. I had no idea how I could pay for a lawyer. That night, I barely slept. The next morning, Brian left for work after reminding me to sign the papers before Friday. As soon as he left, my sister Melissa called. The moment she heard my voice, she knew something was wrong. I told her everything. When I finished, she asked one simple question. "Did a lawyer tell you that you couldn't afford help?" "No," I answered. "Then who did?" "My husband." Melissa sighed. "Rachel, don't take legal advice from the man divorcing you. At least talk to someone before signing anything." Her words stayed with me. That afternoon, I searched online during my lunch break. Instead of expensive law firms, I found a non-profit legal aid office that helped people with family law cases. I filled out the application, not expecting much. The next day, I received a phone call. "Rachel, based on your income, you qualify for free legal assistance." I almost cried. For the first time since Brian handed me those papers, I felt hope. A few days later, I met attorney Amanda Brooks. She listened carefully as I explained my marriage, our finances, and the pressure Brian had put on me. Then she smiled and said something I will never forget. First, don't sign anything. Second, gather every financial document you can find. The law gives you rights, and we're going to make sure you understand them. For the next week, I searched through filing cabinets and storage boxes. I found tax returns, mortgage papers, bank statements, retirement records, and old insurance documents. Amanda reviewed everything. Then she noticed something strange. Several bank transfers didn't match Brian's financial disclosure. There were accounts I had never seen before. She requested complete financial records through the legal process. A week later, she called me. "Rachel, we found money that wasn't listed in the divorce paperwork." I sat there in silence. Brian had moved thousands of dollars into another account without telling me. Amanda stayed calm. "This is exactly why you never sign papers without understanding them." For the first time in months, I wasn't afraid anymore. I knew I wasn't fighting alone. A few weeks later, my attorney filed the proper response with the court and requested that Brian provide complete financial records. When those records arrived, they confirmed what Amanda had suspected. Brian had failed to disclose all of our assets. He had transferred thousands of dollars from our joint accounts into an account under his name before filing for divorce. Amanda calmly submitted the missing financial information to the court. There was no yelling, no revenge, just facts. Soon after, we attended mediation. Brian walked into the room looking confident. He still believed I would accept whatever he offered. But this time, I wasn't alone. Amanda presented the financial records and explained that I had spent years raising our children and supporting our family while Brian built his career. My unpaid work inside our home also mattered. The mediator carefully reviewed everything. Brian's attitude slowly changed. For the first time, he realized I understood my rights. After several hours of discussion, we reached a fair settlement. The equity in our home was divided according to the law. I received my share of our savings and retirement assets. The court also approved a fair child support arrangement for our children. When I signed the final agreement, I didn't feel like I had defeated Brian. I felt like I had finally protected myself. 3 months later, my children and I moved into a smaller townhouse near their school. It wasn't as big as our old house, but it felt peaceful. For the first time in years, I knew every password, every bill, and every dollar in my bank account. I accepted a full-time position at the library and slowly rebuilt my confidence. One afternoon, another woman contacted me after hearing about my divorce. Her husband had told her the exact same thing Brian had told me. "You'll never afford a lawyer." She was scared and didn't know where to start. I shared the most important lesson I had learned. Don't let the person you're divorcing tell you what your rights are. Talk to someone whose job is to protect them. A year later, Brian and I attended our son's school awards ceremony. We greeted each other politely. There was no anger left, only distance. As we watched our son receive his award, my daughter looked at me and smiled. "Mum," she said, "you smile a lot more now." She was right. The greatest victory wasn't the settlement. It wasn't the courtroom. It wasn't proving Brian wrong. The real victory was finding peace, protecting my children, and rebuilding my life with dignity. If you're listening to my story today, I want you to remember one thing. If someone tells you that you have no choices, don't believe them without asking questions. There are lawyers, legal aid organizations, and people who truly want to help. You don't have to scream to be strong. You don't have to seek revenge to find justice. Sometimes the strongest comeback is staying calm, knowing your rights, and refusing to let fear make your decisions. My husband believed I would never afford a lawyer. He never imagined that one phone call for free legal help would change my entire future. And that quiet decision became the beginning of my calm comeback.